I remember learning I was funny in 7th grade, and I got kicked out.
Dangerous time to learn you're funny, by the way.
I got kicked out of class like every day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Sean Evans, and welcome to one more round where bold thinkers pull up for a drink, a conversation about life, creativity, and what they're chasing next. I'm thrilled today to be joined by Lionel Boyce. He's an actor, writer, and producer, best known for his breakout role as Marcus in the Emmy Award-winning series The Bear. In 2012, he co-created the sketch comedy series Loiter Squad and later the animated sitcom The Jellies. Also a member of Odd Future, certainly a man who wears many hats. Lionel, thanks so much for joining us in the Bulleit Frontier Whiskey bar. Can I ask, what are you drinking today?
What did I get? I got an old fashioned. No, I didn't get an old fashioned. I'm lying. I got a whiskey sour. I don't know.
I got the old fashioned.
Yeah, I know. My brain is everywhere today. But yes, I got a whiskey sour.
So I want to start with The Bear and take it all the way back. Can you paint the picture for what your audition is like? And did you feel like you nailed it walking out of the room that day?
The audition process was like any other audition process where you get a tape and then you read the breakdown and you're like, wow, this character feels like close to me, okay. And then I'd known Chris Storer before the show, just like through mutual friends. And so when I read the script, I was like, this is incredible. And you can feel that pace and tempo and everything early on. This feels like a role that feels close. This project sounds cool. I can feel it. I feel attached to it. And I do want this one. And usually whenever you get to that place, you kind of have to lower your expectations because you're like, I really want it and I might not get it. I'm gonna be disappointed. So I just like, whatever, I do want this one. And it worked in my favor.
It definitely worked out. And you know, the show has become this cultural touchstone for many people, but particularly those who work in the service industry. Is there any feedback that you've gotten from a real life chef or line cook that's been most meaningful to you?
They didn't work in the industry, but I think their kid had just gotten into it, and they was like, you know, they started watching the show, and like after season 2 or 3, they decided that that's what they want to do. It's like you open up this door where they didn't see that was an avenue for them. That was something they found could be a passion for them, and now they're fully doing it, and they're doing well, and thank you for that. And I thought that was cool because it not only connected them to their passion, but it found a way for this parent and their child to connect. And I was like, that's sick. Who would have thought that I would have did that?
And you know, the show really demonstrates how creativity can both be an escape and a prison of pressure. In what ways, if at all, do the show's themes connect to your own journey navigating the weight of Hollywood?
It's a lot of parallels to it. It's a journey of creativity and like pursuing a dream. And I think it's a lot in this character's journey where he's balancing life and a passion, and he's in a controlled environment where he has a place to excel. And I'm jealous of him that he has like a great mentor, that he has someone who's like encouraging and stuff. And you have people like that around. Like it's just an outlet for expression and exactly what you want to do and finding your way through that.
What was the most challenging scene to shoot just because the knife skills or technical kitchen skills required to portray it authentically?
I think that I'm fortunate that I'm doing pastries.
You're baking.
I don't have to have the fast hands because that would get difficult and tricky. Season 2, it was the Marcus standalone episode. There's a moment where Will and our characters are like practicing quenelles, and that's like a tricky technique that it's like a lot of things you just have to learn. It's like people know how to do it, they can do it like automatic, but if you don't, it feels like a baby trying to learn to walk. And so we were like in between takes, like from the morning. We knew we had to shoot that later in the day. We were just in between takes at the lunch break, going to this separate room, practicing, and all of them were just like shit the whole time. And we were like, we don't know how this is gonna go because Will has to look like a professional. His has to be perfect. And mine started getting better than his. And so he's like, this is gonna be embarrassing. I'm gonna do it, and mine's gonna be bad, yours gonna be great. And then by the end, he does it on camera first go, a perfect one. I'm like, fuck you, man. I was like, you were just holding this in your back pocket.
So I wanna transition to, you're co-creating, producing Adult Swim shows like Loiter Squad and the Jellies, but I know that that's not where your love of animation and comedy began. Is it true that you used to rewrite Dragon Ball Z scripts after watching episodes as a kid?
Yeah, well, that was funny because I didn't even think about like, oh, I'm gonna grow up, I wanna get into film or any of these things. I just had a computer with dial-up internet and I just was like so into Dragon Ball Z. Sometimes I would just write fake episodes, but it was not even me thinking about like, this is what I wanna do with my life. I think it was just a kid just being like exploring imagination.
But I wonder if that's where like the seeds were planted on some level. Like what are your earliest core memories of being on a creative journey?
I remember learning I was funny in 7th grade and I got kicked out.
Dangerous time to learn you're funny, by the way.
I got kicked out of class like every day. I just remember being able to like make the class laugh. I think senior year of high school, meeting Tyler is when I realized, oh, okay, there's like some sort of like creative side to this, because we were in drama class together and we were like write sketches and do these things, and he was really responding to what I was doing. He was like, yeah, this is cool, we should do this. Like, and he would just dream like, if we ever did a show or something, man, I would do it with you. And you're just like, yeah, sure, whatever, dude. But I was
he was right.
Yeah, I know, and I was wrong, because I was like, I guess I'll just play sports.
What did becoming a part of a collective like Odd Future, what did it teach you about creative collaboration? Like, are there any early lessons that you learned that still shape your approach to project today?
I think so. I think like the safetyness of friends and being on the same wavelength, speaking the same language is important, where there's a lot of times where you can see somebody you respect, the things that they do and want to work with them, but you guys might not speak the same language. And I think that is important, especially for comedy. You have to have that same language, so you have some air of stupidity and trust, where you can just say whatever and you can take this and go on the same journey together.
When you went from being a cartoon fan to actually making one yourself, was there like a hardest reality check on what goes into making animation?
100%. Making the cartoon came from me and Tyler just having an idea and just being like, we should just make this, knowing nothing about animation. So when you start learning about animation and making things, I remember I made the mistake of not understanding that the stages in which you can make certain changes. So it wasn't exactly what we wanted to be with the first episode, but it was like, cool, when they animate it, we'll really make the big changes. And so we held a lot of notes back, and then when we got the fully animated episode, we started saying, can we do all these things? They're like, we don't have that kind of money. This is ridiculous. No, we can't do these things. So it was a hard reality check of learning that where the limitations are. And then I think we were really fortunate the second season of making that cartoon, because Carl Jones, who worked on the Boondocks, he was instrumental to that. He really helped us and shaped and molded the show in the second season for what we wanted to really be, because he could draw. And
the show is so vibrant, has this psychedelic quality to it. Mm-hmm. How do you approach color as a storytelling tool?
I think the color, I give that credit to Tyler, because I think he's a person who's like a genius when it comes to color, and you see it in everything he does. So I'll leave the color to him, the vibrance. But I think it also came from just us, the cartoons we grew up on, like those 90s cartoons where it's like Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, and all these things where it's just I think a lot of the animators in that time period were like growing up in like the psychedelic era and just like making these things that weren't necessarily for kids, like Ren and Stimpy and those kinds of things. So that like by nature just came into the animation style.
The animated series that you're talking about, the ones that we grew up on a good time for cartoons. And they had such distinctive visual styles, from like the squiggly lines and a Rugrats, or like geometric shapes and like Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
Is there a visual style that was like most influential in shaping your aesthetic?
Hey Arnold, maybe. Because also the thing I was going to say was the music, also the way that they blended those two things together. Because even with Rugrats, was it Mark Mothersbaugh who did the music for that, which is like crazy not that crazy, but it's super cool when you think about it. And the jazz with Hey Arnold. So I think it was like kind of marrying those two things together. It's like, what does this sound like? What does this feel like? And that informs what it looks like.
Do you have a Mount Rushmore of cartoons?
Dragon Ball Z, Hey Arnold, Recess, and Family Guy, and Boondocks, whatever.
You can have an honorable mention. Yeah.
Boondocks too. I think those are like probably the most influential cartoons to me.
I've heard you talk about the importance of maintaining a beginner's mindset, right? Even as you achieve success. Mm-hmm. How are things like curiosity or naivete, how are they like superpowers for you?
People get things done when they don't know how hard it is to get something done. Once you start looking at the limitations, you're now editing as opposed to creating. I always try to live by the philosophy of like taking what you do serious, but don't take yourself serious. And I think that keeps like a little bit of slack on the cord, where you can have this freedom to find the borders yourself, as opposed to being so rigid and saying you can't and can't do this and limiting yourself. Because I think everything comes from an accident, and accident only comes from curiosity.
That's profound.
I guess so.
Lionel, to close things out, you appeared in Curb Your Enthusiasm's final season last year. And afterwards you said, no dream is a farce now. Mm-hmm. Now that you've given yourself license to believe that anything is possible, what's your next big dream? Can you paint the picture for us?
I look at it as like this: if you have a detailed dream of just like life, this is actually something I learned from like Tyler, because he was very big on always being like, what is like this image you see or whatever? And a lot of things and the isms I learned about creativity and like work come from reading architectural books. Like there's this one book called A Timeless Way of Building that I feel like is like a Bible of just creativity. I love architecture, and I'm not like a pro, but I have an appreciation for it. And my favorite house is the Ennis house in Los Angeles. And I recently got to do a tour of it. And something that really stuck from that was just, he starts with the rooms. What do the rooms look like? And then we build off of that. So that gives it this organic look. Touring that house, I learned how much it costs to upkeep
keep
that.
it.
Yeah, I was like,
that's
okay.
the thing about Frank Lloyd Wright. Beautiful things, but high maintenance.
And you're like, that's insane. So the way that the house makes me feel and everything about it, I would like to like be able to build my own version of the house. And for me to do that means I've like checked off these things on my goal list.
Lionel, thanks so much for joining me for a good drink and even better conversation. Let's cheers to the spirit of doing things. And thank you to Bulleit Frontier Whiskey for making it all possible.
Cool. That's it.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Yeah.